Yesterday, Idaho 4 incel Bryan Kohberger was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. And while the Reddit and Twitter X neckbeards are criticizing some of the choice words used by some of the family members in their victim impact statements.
If you hadn't attacked them in their sleep, in the middle of the night, like a pedophile, Kaylee would have kicked your fucking ass.
That was over here absolutely mesmerized by Alivea Goncalves, and how savagely she was able to verbally take this dude out like it was
Garbage Day!
Hello, and welcome back, roommates, to another titillating edition of Alexasrewm, where we are not lawyers, we are not medical professionals, and we are not law enforcement. We are just people. People who have opinions about all things going on in the true crime community, including on Alivea Goncalves, the older sister of Kaylee Goncalves, quite literally dragging guy who can't get Tinder date Bryan Kohberger at yesterday's sentencing.
I will ask the questions that reverberate violently in my own head, so loudly that I can't think straight most any day. Some of these might be familiar, so sit up straight when I talk to you.
You better sit the duck up, boy, I tell you what.
How does it feel to know the only thing you failed more miserably at than being a murderer is trying to be a rapper?
Wait, is that true? Was he trying to be a rapper?
Did you recently start shaving or manually pulling out your eyebrows? Why November 13th? Did you truly think your Amazon purchase was untraceable because you used a gift card? How do you find it enjoyable to stargaze with such a severe case of visual snow?
He ain't no Ziggy Stardust, I'll tell you that.
You're a delusional, pathetic, hypochondriac loser who thought you were so much smarter than everybody else. Constantly scolding, turning your nose up to grammar mistakes, nitpicking and criticizing others. You wanted so badly to be different, to be special, to be better, to be deep, to be mysterious. You found yourself thinking you were better than everyone else, and you thought you could figure out the human psyche and see through it, all while tweaked out on heroin.
Oh my god, wait, did he actually do? I didn't know that. But this is giving, you know, I two people came to mind. Elliot Rodger, who was that weird other incel kid who thought he was God's gift to all women, even though he didn't even like try, I don't think, to talk to women, but yet women were the problem. And Brian Laundrie. Like, it's always those brooding loser types who usually are coddled by their moms. I don't know what his relationship with his mom is in this case. Refuses to do anything with their life other than complain.
Lurking in the shadows made you feel powerful because no one ever paid you any attention in the light. You thought you were exceptional, all because of a grade on a paper. You thought you were elite because your online IQ test from 2010 told you so.
Dude, you had to take an IQ test to tell you how smart you are? This is a verbal castration, and I'm loving it. Because the only way to get under the skin of people with God complexes, like this loser, is by telling them how much of a loser they are, and how dumb they actually are, and how irrelevant they are to the rest of the world. And she does go into, you know, people only refer to you in the media as BK. Like, you don't even have a name. You're nameless because that's how irrelevant you are. Your initials represent the inferior fast food restaurant, the McDonald's.
Wannabe. You act like no one could ever understand your mind, but the truth is you're basic. You're a textbook case of insecurity disguised as control. Your patterns are predictable. Your motives are shallow. You are not profound. You're pathetic. You aren't special or deep, not mysterious or exceptional. Don't ever get it twisted again.
This is what Brian Laundrie needed to be told. Like, sit the duck up and let me reel into you about how much of a loser and a waste of space you actually are. Like, you're not talented, you're not smart, you're not deep, you're pathetic. Get a ducking job.
No one is scared of you today. No one is intimidated by you. No one is impressed by you. No one thinks that you are important. The scariest part about you is how painfully average you turned out to be. The truth is, you're as dumb as they come. Stupid, clumsy, slow, sloppy, weak, dirty. Let me be very clear. Don't ever try to convince yourself you mattered just because someone finally said your name out loud.
No, this isn't probably the most appropriate time to say this, but I think she would do really well on one of those roasts of insert celebrity name here. I'm just saying. Also of note was this zinger from Aubrey Goncalves, the younger sister of Kaylee.
Quick message from our youngest daughter. Aubrey wanted to say, you may have received A's in high school and college, but you're going to be getting big D's in prison.
Thank you.
At least he'll finally get the attention he's always wanted. And look, I get why some people might feel uncomfortable with some of these things that have been said. I am not in any way, shape, or form condoning SA on anyone. I'm a flippin' survivor of SA, so I don't and would not ever condone that. But I think where a lot of this criticism, in my opinion, is being unfairly misplaced on this family is coming from the perspective of people who likely have never lived like out in the actual real world and have had bad things happen to them, bad things happen to people they know, live in a plastic bubble of, you know, everything's drama and everything's played up for the media and for TV. And I think what impressed me so much about all of these victim impact statements is the fact that it just showed how human we are and how not human somebody like Burger King is. How real and raw these emotions and feelings are, and you can tell them that, oh, you know, with a little bit of therapy over time, they'll learn how to grieve properly, etc., etc. Shut the duck up. You will probably never know how it feels to be in their shoes, and I hope that you never will have to. And I'm fairly certain they hope that never happens to anybody else as well. But to be able to verbalize all of the things that we're thinking in our heads and make it known, and know that you had some, probably, effect on his psyche that he's going to be replaying in his head every single day for the rest of his undeserving life. That might not be justice. That might not be a win. But I'm sure it gave them some little bit of partial relief, knowing that they can't get the answers or the justice that they deserve. And I know there's a lot of controversy about, well, where he's going to be staying now is going to be hell enough. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. The truth of the matter is, a lot of us don't know what prison is like. And I can certainly sympathize with feeling helpless and not heard and not getting the answers to the questions that have been keeping you up for years. Probably as long as they live. And that is absolutely tragic. And it didn't seem to bother Judge Hitler. Not one bit. The courtroom still was able to maintain its decorum, in my opinion. Nobody was blurting out anything or throwing hands or jumping over tables. Whereas we've seen in previous sentencings, some of them can get pretty wild. Now, since then, some documents in the Burger King case have been unsealed. And it sounds like they're going to be released in drips and drabs, literally, over probably the next several weeks, maybe even months. Among the documents detailing the Moscow Police Department's investigation was a description of an interview investigators conducted with a former friend of Kohberger who described him as intelligent, but also selfish. Well, that's a ringing endorsement. The Washington State University, who was referred to as L, said Kohberger would often mislead him when it came to their shared work and would have L complete work meant for Kohberger. So we walked all over you like a human doormat. He also tried to use his authority as a teaching assistant to inappropriately interact with female students. There it is. That makes sense. L said, adding he thought Burger King wanted a girlfriend, since they spoke about that on many occasions, according to the document. I mean, if you want a girlfriend so bad, why don't you just do what most red-blooded American men do and go on dating apps? There's probably a reason why nobody wanted you to be their boyfriend. I'm just saying. L said Burger King asked him to help fight allegations that threatened his teaching assistant position.
The other information that Kohberger's job looked like it was in trouble. They had some screenshots. The police officers had screenshots from text messages between two of the Washington State University professors.
Yeah, and we had heard rumblings that he had issues, obviously, when he was the TA there, and issues with students and other professors, and he, wasn't keeping his job. I want to read you this text message, though. This is what we never seen this before. This is one professor writing this to another professor. We need to do an intervention with Kohberger. She is going to try to gather information, but apparently he's offended several of our female students, which again goes back to some of our reporting from early on when we were at the school talking to people, that he had issues with the female students.
What do you mean by issues? Like the touchy-feely kind, or the making crude comments? Like, why do you need to have an intervention? Just kick him out. He's just a teaching assistant. I'm sure there are hundreds of other people clamoring for that TA position who are probably equally as qualified, who would be a lot less offensive to the female gender. This isn't baseball. You don't get 3 strikes and you're out, because that's how it gets ramped up. With these incels, they ruminate on this shiz. They don't think that they're the problem, when really the problem is you. Because you're probably weird and nobody wants to talk to you, dude. Like that's probably why you're having a little bit of a hard time in the dating department. But when your personality is as exciting as a cardboard box, you probably should do some soul searching in there. But I'm just not understanding what these issues were and why he wasn't. Was he removed from his teaching position, or did this happen like right before?
Right, and also in those documents, apparently a female student at his college, WSU, said that she saw photos of herself and of her friends on his phone on the Dateline documentary. So they didn't even know that they were on his phone until they saw the Dateline documentary. But
That's not how you get a girl's attention, dude. There are better ways to catch the eye of a woman. than taking creepy photos and hoarding it in your iCloud account. Like, that's just, there are better ways.
She says she said Bryan Kohberger used to sit close to her in class when he showed up for class, often late. Let me move to the stalking issue, because we all assumed that the investigators would tell us that Bryan Kohberger stalked one or more of these kids at 1122 King Road, but it turns out he just might be bizarre. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. There's reports that there were people in the woods, that the kids at 1122 saw strange figures in the woods, that Murphy the dog would go running to the woods and wouldn't come back quite often. But then there's this discussion about a woman who talked to the police about being matched with Kohberger on Tinder.
Yeah, and this was kind of crazy. You're right, though. We don't have any proof from police that he was stalking them. He may have been, but the police never had any evidence. We asked specifically about that today. But this is the woman who matched with him on Tinder, and I'm going to read this because I want to get it right. She says that she was talking about horror movies with Kohberger. He asked her what she thought would be the worst way to die, and she said with a knife. And then Kohberger asked her to do something to the effect of, he said something like a K-bar, which we all know what that means. I mean, K-bar knife is the knife he used to kill these 4 kids, the knife sheath they found in the house. She said she didn't know what that was. She had to Google it. She stopped talking to him because he weirded her out, which...
I mean, that would weird me out too, dude. Like, there's certain questions. You want a way to a woman's heart. It's usually like chocolate, puppies, in my case, cats.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would weird anybody out. And I can only imagine what she's thinking now, knowing all the details of everything that went down. You mentioned at the top of the show, they've now moved Kohberger into the Idaho prison system. What they told me yesterday is they are going to go through all of the electronic communications of prisoners in the system that he may be around to see who has been talking about him. And that's how they're going to determine what block he may go into, even though he's likely going to be in isolation, which I found very interesting. They can actually search through all of the communication that the prisoners have been having with family and such and see who seems to be the most interested in Kohberger.
Well, I mean, they monitor everything. There's no such thing as privacy in prison. Which also happens to be, that's the same prison, I didn't know this, that's the home of Chad Daybell, so he's in good company. It should be interesting to see what more is revealed in the weeks and months to come in result of this case. I have a feeling, I have a hinting suspicion, he's gonna do a Jeffrey Dahmer and have a sit down with somebody at some point. It might be like a year and a half down the line. Whether or not he'll give any answers, real answers to what actually happened, we'll see. And of course, as more unfolds in the aftermath of this case, I will keep you posted here if you enjoyed today's content. So that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.